Hello and welcome to the Treehouse Art Garden. Here at Treehouse, we love to do art projects that are based on some of our favorite stories or children's books. And today, we're basing our art on a collection of stories we told on another YouTube video. The link is in the description below. You should check it out. It's a story about how Rabbit got his long ears. So today, we're making rabbit puppets. And once you know how to make this kind of puppet, you can make any animal you want. All of the animals from your favorite books. That's a lot. So let's get started. Come on. For some art projects, you want to plan out absolutely everything in advance. And for others, well, a lot happens by accident, and I like it that way. And this is one of those kinds of projects where it's about 50-50. You got to plan out your supplies. First, you're going to need a piece of paper. I'm choosing yellow because I want to make a yellow rabbit because I can and because it's one of my favorite colors. And I'm going to be using scraps and glue and my favorite pair of scissors, and I really don't need very much else. Clear it off to the side where I can get it. First thing we need to do is to fold our paper. So we're going to set the paper up the long way, or portrait, and we're going to fold it in thirds. Now you'll notice I'm just going to eyeball this because it doesn't need to be exact thirds. In fact, folding it over like this, you'll notice that I've got quite a bit of space here between the edge and the fold. That's perfect because I want it to be big enough for me to put my hand in. It's okay if it's bigger than that, but I want it to be at least that big. Then you'll notice that there's a flappy side that leaves you and a smooth side. Now in the end, I want this smooth side to be on the outside of my puppet. So I'm going to make sure that when I fold it now, I've got the flappy side on the outside of the puppet. You can see how that works. Okay, now I'm going to take this fold. You see how I've got it? Kind of like a V. I'm going to take this and I'm going to fold it 2 more times, just past the fold. You see how it's done? Now I'm going to take and fold the other side too. Normally I would match what I've just done, but because I'm making a rabbit, I want my rabbit to have a bit of an overbite. So I'm going to go a little farther on this fold than the other one. You see how I've done that? So I've got one that sticks out farther than the other. Okay, if you did this right, it should look somewhat like a W, or if you prefer, an M. And then this is where it becomes a puppet. We're going to tip it up on its side here, and you'll see that where we've folded it, we've got 2 open holes, and I'm squishing them together to get them to open like that. I'm going to make it so that my thumb goes in one, and my fingers fit in the other one. You can see why you wanted to make sure that it's going to fit on your hand. And now it's a puppet. We've got a mouth here. Now you want to decide with your puppet, whatever kind of animal you're making, that whether you use this as the top or this as the top. Now remember, I wanted to have an overbite on my rabbit, so I have a place to put the teeth. So I'm going to use the shorter side for my top. I find that one of the biggest challenges with this art project is remembering which part of your puppet is the front and which part is the back while you're decorating it. It's easy to get confused at the beginning. So make sure that you are taking your puppet, putting it on your hand, and making sure before you get crazy with the gluing that you're putting your eyes and your ears and your nose where you want them and not backwards. Now, speaking of eyes and ears and nose, let's pull out our scraps again and make some facial features for this puppet. I'm going to use this little white piece to make circle eyes. I've folded it so that I can cut both eyes at once and they'll match. Now they don't have to be exact circles, and that's the part where I'm talking about sometimes what you create is part accident with a cut paper project. And sometimes I like what I do by accident a little bit better than what I would have done if I had used a stencil. I want them to be kind of big. Bigger eyes are cuter. Okay, so here I've got my 2 eyes, but I'm going to make some circles, and I want mine this time to be just a little smaller than the white ones because these are going to be the parts that live inside the whites. Yeah, I'm pretty satisfied with those. Okay, now again, normally with a cut paper project, I might wait until the very end before I glue anything on. But in this case, I want something to help me remember what the top of my puppet is and what the bottom. Did you notice to pick up the pupil, I just stuck my finger down. Turns out people are kind of sticky already. And that was enough for me to pick up the pupil on my eye. It's a fun trick. Then I'm gonna sort of, while the glue is wet, slide that around until I can get it where I want it. Yep, that looks good to me. Got my eyes. Now I'm gonna put them on. I don't wanna put them all the way at the top of the face because I wanna leave room for the ears of this rabbit. Now I did fold my papers, both the black and the white, over to make my eyeballs match, but they don't have to. Sometimes when you're doing art, especially funny art, it's kind of fun to have one bigger than the other. And that's up to you. Okay, I'm liking this. Next, because it's a rabbit and because it's an animal, I want this kind of animal to have a little bit of a muzzle about right here. So I'm going to take this piece of paper and just make a little half circle, something like that. And I'm going to glue that on again to help me figure out where I want to put my nose. You can use markers if you like, or other kinds of color media, but when I'm making a cut paper project, I like to stick with just the paper and the glue. Okay, so there I've got a place to put my nose. And making my nose, I know that I want a little point on my nose, and I'm gonna use two colors. So I'm gonna do a little trick where I put the two colors that I want to use together and just offset the pink from the black just a little bit. Now if I do this trick and I hold them together, it should let me cut across, and I'm going to make a triangle, but a little bit of an arc there. And if I do this right, then I can put the pink on top of the black, and because I cut them at the same time, they sort of match. So I'm going to glue those together like that. I want to put my nose down there. So it looks a little bit like an animal's muzzle. You see how that goes? I think that's good. I like it. Now, to really rabbit this guy up, he needs what the story's about. We need some ears. Let's get rid of some of the rest of this. Every now and again, especially when you're working with cut paper, it's nice to clean up your area so that you can see what you need and what is scraps. First, I'm going to cut some longish ears, but I want them to be kind of wide, and I'll show you why in a minute. So I'm just gonna, I've folded my paper again. Did you notice that step? Folded my paper, and I'm just gonna cut them a couple of triangles. It could be longer, shorter than that if you want. And then because I cut them on the fold, I'm gonna cut along that fold until I've got some kind of matching ears. But gluing these ears on is going to need a place to glue. So I'm gonna make a little fold at the bottom, and I kind of want to do one similar on the other ear and try them out and make sure that they're the kind of ears that I want on my rabbit. Now here's the cool thing. I could stay with this kind of ear. I'm kind of satisfied with those guys. But if you want an ear that is more than just a flat ear, if you want some dimension on it, there's a cool trick that you should know, because you can use it with rounded ears or pointed ears like this, whatever you're doing. I'm just going to take my scissors, and on this little flappy part, can you see if I hold it sideways? The little flappy part, I'm going to cut right in the middle. I'm going to do this on both of them so that I can fold one over the other and make my ear dimensional. You see it? Pretty cool. If I glue it like this, then when it stands up on my rabbit, it looks more like a real ear. Your ears have that kind of dimension. I'm hoping these ears might even work for the rabbit to hear our stories. Okay, so I've got that taken care of. I'm going to do exactly the same thing on the other one. And then I want to cut some smaller triangles out of this pink to put on the inside. I don't need them to be very big. This is the kind of thing that's up to you. You don't have to line yours with pink. You can do anything you like. But I recommend lining it with something just to make that part of your puppet stand out that much better. Okay, now that I've got that together, I'm going to do what I said I was going to do. I'm going to put some glue on one of these two flaps that I cut. I'm going to fold it over, just like that. And then I'm going to do the same thing over here. And then I'm going to fold it over the other one. And now I've got two stand-up ears. You can see them from multiple angles here. Now that we've got our ears made, it's time to put them on the rabbit. Put a little bit of glue here. And again, make sure we're putting them in the right spot. I kind of like rabbit ears to be a little closer together. Makes them look different than other kinds of animals. Time to put it on and test it. I like the look of that. Okay, next, this guy needs teeth. I am going to make them long enough that I have a piece to fold over. And then I want to cut a little bit out so that you can see what his teeth look like. Fold it over, add the glue, put them on, right there. Now I could add a whole lot more detail, but I definitely think that in order for my puppet to be a puppet, I need to put something in the mouth so that you can see the mouth. So very quickly, I'm going to cut out something to put here in the back and probably a tongue. You just put a half circle will be fine, but keep in mind one of those back of the mouth shapes. And now a tongue. Yeah, now my puppet can talk. I like him. Now I'm going to add just a couple more details, but really my puppet is done. And you can add whatever kind of details you want. You can add whiskers. I'm just going to add a little bit of highlight. Remember how I said that sometimes my art is part accident? See that little scrap of paper there? That's just about what I was going to cut to put the highlight on the nose. I think I'm just going to use it. That's why you should never throw away your scraps until the end of your project. I like it. You can add anything else that you like. Don't forget to clean up and recycle when you're done. There's our puppet. Thanks. Did you try it? How did yours turn out? Thank you so much for making art with me and for sharing some stories with me here at Treehouse. We do those kinds of things all the time here at Treehouse, and if you're in Ogden, Utah, you got to promise to stop by and see us in person.